Prismo Metals is a gold, silver, copper exploration company with three key projects in Arizona and another in the Panoco mining district in Mexico. I hope I pronounced that correctly. CEO Alain Lambert and Dr. Craig Gibson are here to review the highlights of the story and their exploration focus. I'm Martin Gago with Market Radius Research. Please remember, this is neither recommendation nor investment advice. Alain, Craig, welcome and thanks for taking the time to pitch us on Prismo Metals.
Thanks for having us.
All right, welcome. Yeah, why don't the slide's up here, and why don't you take it away?
All right, thank you very much. So I'll start. Yes, as you mentioned, Alain Lambert, I'm the CEO of the company. I'm also a co-founder. And so is Craig. My background's in law and finance, but I had the pleasure to move to Arizona many years ago, where I lived for 4 years and met Craig and met also Dr. Peter McGaw, and that was the genesis of Prismo Metals. The next page, probably the one after. So that one, disclaimer, please everybody read that. Thank you. So we started out Prismo Metals with our main project when we went public over 5 years ago, and that was Palos Verdes. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. We've since added 2 projects, and I'm going to go a little bit quickly, just because we have a mix here, I'm told by Martin, of people that are new to the story, but also a lot of our existing shareholders that also want to see a bit of an update. So we'll try to cover all angles here. So as I was mentioning, Palos Verdes is a silver project in the Panuco district in Mexico. That was the main asset when we went public, and something happened after we went public. Is we became surrounded on 3 sides by Vizsla Silver. Vizsla, as you know, has gone on to make some significant discovery in the district. Went from a small explorer to $1 billion plus market cap, very, very successful. And they made an investment in our company in 2023. They became our largest shareholder. They're still our largest shareholder. And they, as I said, they surround us on 3 sides. This property that we have, Palos Verdes, we've drilled almost 7,000 meters. Had some amazing results. You can see some of the results there on the page. And then further in the presentation, which is on our website, you can get more details and obviously read some of our press releases. Our expectation with regards to Palos Verdes is that it will be at some point taken over by Vizsla. The Palos Verdes vein has 750 meters of strike length on our property, but it originates from Vizsla's northwest side to the southeast, to the northeast side. So it really belongs at the right time and for the right price into Vizsla's portfolio. So that's one project. The other project that we're well known for is Hot Brecha, which is a very large copper prospect in Arizona, right in the heart of the Arizona copper belt. We optioned that in 2023, and last year we worked really hard on the financing for $3 million to carry on the first phase of drilling at Hot Brecha. It didn't quite come together, so we added to our possibilities in order to advance the project to talk to majors. As you can tell on the picture here, all the majors are present in the district, and so we're having ongoing discussion with some of them. We still want to advance the project. And what we'll be focusing on mainly in this presentation are the 2 properties, Silver King and Ripsey, that we optioned in July. These are our immediate priorities, especially Silver King. And I'll let Craig explain why it is a priority. So a little bit about us, and so as I said, we have a mix of people who are successful explorers and people with capital markets background. So Craig's our Chief Exploration Officer. Steve Robertson, our past president, still an advisor, well known for discovering large copper systems in Canada. He's the one who brought Hot Breccia to our attention. Peter McGaw is one of our significant shareholders and an advisor. And we just recently appointed Gord as our president after Steve went back to Imperial Metals where he started his career. So we are focused at this stage mainly on silver, copper, and I write in there in the presentation antimony. Silver King is known to have antimony. We just need to figure out how much and, if it's, and how much it's going to move the needle. Share structure, 83 million shares outstanding, very low market cap, $8.5 million. And even after being public for such a long time, 5 years, advisors and founders, insiders still own almost 29% of the company, and Vizsla still has 6.1 million. Okay, and this is where I'm gonna turn it over to Craig. But before I do that, let me tell you why we decided in July to option 100% interest in these two properties. As I mentioned at the outset, for Palos Verdes, we have a clear plan, which is let's see what Vizsla is going to do as they proceed from the southwest side of the district to the northeast where we are. And with respect to Hot Breccia, prioritizing engaging with potential partners to develop the project. So we just didn't want to stand still and wait for these things to realize from a corporate standpoint, but we wanted to add to our portfolio exploration properties. Craig, who is also from Tucson, spends a lot of his time in Mexico, but he's from Tucson, and he had spent some time to visit Silver King and Ripsey in the last few years. A number of times. He actually brought it up to us early in 2023, and we elected to go after Hot Breccia at the time, but we were aware that these opportunities were there. And it was recently that we were able to strike a deal with the Dean family that owns the two projects. The Dean family is a family of miners and ranchers in the area. And we got excited about the prospects of going in and starting exploration at Silver King. So that's where I'm going to turn it over to you, Craig.
Hey, thanks, Alain. Yeah, this map here shows some of our reasoning for getting into the project as part of the Arizona Copper Belt. Shows some of the major deposits in the upper part of the slide there near Globe and Pinto Valley. Down in the center part of the slide, left center is the Ray mine, and down to the southeast is the Christmas mine. And the our Hot Breccia project we acquired in 2023 is in this belt. And as Alain said, we tried very hard to get the financing for that last year. It didn't come through, and we really wanted to get it to finance enough to drill 5,000 meters. We didn't see the point of drilling less than that because it really needs that. So we couldn't complete the financing. And as Alain said, we elected to, as the opportunity became available, to pick up the Silver King and the Ripsey mine. And they're in the same belt, the same kind of rocks we're looking at it at Hot Breccia in the same general area. So it's a pretty good fit with the company. You can see the Silver King is in the kind of the upper left part of the figure. It's not very far from the Resolution copper deposit, which is one of the world's largest unmined copper deposits and very high grade, actually. And it's about 3 kilometers to the northwest of the Resolution deposit. And the Ripsey mine's a little bit farther south, almost due west of our Hot Breccia project. So it's in the same belt. A little bit less known about that one, but we'll talk about it here shortly. The Silver King mine is, renowned as a very important silver producer in Arizona in the late 1800s. It was actually discovered in 1875 when they were putting a road in or access from the west towards Globe. and basically was during the Apache Wars and things like that. But one of the people working on the road found a piece of rock that was very black, didn't really know what it was, took it with them, and later put it into an assay office and it turned out to be very high grade silver. That person told some other people about it and then subsequently died without being able to go back. But his friends went back and looked for it and found what became the Silver King deposit. Went into production, I think, in 1879, basically as a right from the surface, it outcropped. They mined very, very high grade ore at the surface. I mean, these were multiple percent silver at the surface, and they worked this as a glory hole to about 50 to 75 feet below the outcrop of a small hill. Which you can see in that upper photo, kind of in the left center, is the profile of that pit. It looks pretty similar today, actually. And that was mined again about 75 feet, maybe. And then they put a shaft in. The mining went up to a little bit more formal operation. Put a shaft in, which eventually reached 900 feet, almost 1,000 feet, so roughly 300 meters deep. During that time period, from about 1879 to 1889, it produced just under 6 million ounces of silver. And the grades there were very high, 61 ounces per ton at the start, and probably trailing off to 21 ounces per ton by the time it shut down in 1889. It was pretty much shut down until the early 1900s, had a small period of production in the 20s, produced 230,000 additional ounces, and again at a pretty good head grade of 18.7 ounces per ton. That was actually done with the new shaft that was put in to 600 feet, and it's significant that 600 feet just access the upper part of the mine. And we'll talk about that in a minute, but it's an important point. Also, the mine has received no significant work really after 1928. There's been no modern exploration, virtually no exploration at all, really. It was always a mine, and all the work was mining, not exploration. So it's never really been explored, and particularly with modern methods. So we saw this as a pretty good opportunity to get a foothold in the Resolution District. Alain's fond of saying it's a hole in the donut of the land package controlled by the Resolution Copper. And we're the only junior within that land package that we know of, particularly in this area. If you go to the next one, please. Yeah, this shows the kind of a angle view of the land package, the photo on the upper left. The land package is about 3 kilometers from Resolution. We can see in the background. If you look on the figure on the lower right, it shows everything owned by Resolution. The old magma copper claims are now part of Resolution in green, and the yellow claims up to on the top of that are claims that were optioned by Resolution. So they own pretty much everything around our claims, with the orange claims in the middle there. See the topography is a little bit abrupt there. The other thing that's really important about this project, and you can kind of get a feel for it, the claims shown in that left view are in the same host rocks that host both the magma mine, which is kind of the right side of that view, and the Resolution copper deposit. But we're now had all those younger volcanic rocks removed by erosion, so the mineralization exposed at the surface. Resolution there in the background has roughly 1,200 meters of volcanic rocks, younger volcanic rocks, unmineralized, on top of an additional 400 meters of older volcanics before they reach the deposit. I'm sorry, that was 800 and 400 for a total of 1,200 meters to the top of the deposit. Silver King outcrop, or the mineralization outcrops. This is a close-up view. The main feature here is the Silver King mine is located within a kind of a light orange intrusive rock shown there, which is a diorite porphyry, and similar rocks are basically known throughout the Arizona copper belt and are generally associated with copper mineralization in most of the known mines there. So we have similar rocks that host the Resolution and the other copper mines in the district. And we feel really that the Silver King mine is actually part of a porphyry copper system. It's just probably a little bit farther away from the center of mineralization. You can see some of the assays from the dump. These were some samples I took initially a few years ago. Again, we don't really have access or didn't have access to workings or quick trips. You can see some dump samples and sample from a small mill that was put in by the current owners of the mine, 124 grams in that, and grab samples with 40 and 50 grams per ton silver. So interesting values. This is a model of the mineralization that we put through based on that left figure shows the levels that we were digitized from historic maps showing the shaft. Actually, the shaft of that in use originally is kind of a blue line, kind of fade there. And then there's a green line, which was the new shaft that I mentioned that was put into 600 feet. So the mine was had about 9 levels. And on the right, you can see kind of a red blob where we modeled the actual shape of the mineralization. It turns out to be a cylindrical body that dips deeply to the west from the surface outcrop. In this, you're kind of looking along strike, so you can't see that dip really. Excuse me. And it dips again 7 degrees to the west, very steeply plunging. And we'll look at it a little bit more in this next slide. The family that had this, as the Dean family, as Alain said, uh, rehabilitated the shaft, the original shaft, in the 1990s, and briefly opened the mine. And these are a couple of photos of the mine. I believe they're from the 114 level, and you can see there's some broken rock there, but the back of the working is solid rock, and the lower level they're working at a face in rock with some broken rock there. So we think, based on historic records and based on this information from the Dean family, that the upper portions of the ore body were not mined in the past. They're still in place, providing an immediate high grade exploration target. And we know some of the lower levels were more extensively mined, probably due to metallurgy. Had a little bit better metallurgy for the technology in the late 1800s. And this shows some of the information from the Dean family. And if you look at some of those values there, there's 3 grab samples from the 114 level, and they had 400 to 644 ounces per ton gold in grab samples with significant gold or silver, I'm sorry, and significant gold. So there's still high grade mineralization present in the mine. And we feel there's probably a significant tonnage of material that was unmined in the past. This photo here is a drone view of the mine, kind of at an angle there. You can see the glory hole in kind of the upper right, very strongly altered diorite porphyry, kind of orangish in color. Fortunately, the glory hole has been largely filled in over the years, and we can't really see the mineralization there except around what was mined before. And in the left center part of the figure there's a head frame on the mine, and then there's a mill kind of extending from that to the left. And this was all put in by the Dean family. They rehabilitated the shaft, put the head frame in with the hoist at a small mill. The mill really didn't work too much. Probably just 10, 20,000 tons of ore. A lot of it was from the surface. It's a small amount from underground. On the right there, you'll see.
Craig.
Yep.
Sorry, no, go ahead, Craig. On the right, yep.
Yeah, on the right-hand side, you'll see a cross-section from the old days. I think it's an 1883 cross-section showing some of the workings. And what's significant here, you can see the glory hole at the top, the steeply dipping ore body, which seemed to have an offset or something in the middle. We're not sure if that's real or if it was just because there was a pillar left around the shaft you could see coming down there, so they didn't mine that part. But you could see right about halfway down at the 400 to 500 foot level, there's a bunch of squares, and down lower at the I think it's the 800 level, and those are square sets. And the interesting thing is this thing was mined as an opening. They took all the mineralization out that was present and left an opening, and they used square sets, which were basically a grid of interlocking beams that supported the mine as they left the opening behind. And that was a method that was developed in the Comstock lode in Virginia City, Nevada, I think in the 1860s. So they used this method, and we think a lot of the low grade ore they had at that time was probably left as backfill in those square sets. So based on historic records, there's a significant tonnage of lower grade mineralization. Again, they were mining 60 to 20 ounces per ton. So this low grade could be even 10 ounces per ton, which is really not low grade anymore. There could be a significant amount of that left in the mine. And you can see on superimposed on that section there is a simple depiction of our planned drill program. The black holes are angle holes through the ore body, again, focusing on the upper levels of the ore body above the 300 level where we think it has not been significantly exploited, and below that glory hole. So we're planning go ahead.
Yeah, maybe pause here, if you don't mind, Craig. I'd like to see a few things, and then maybe become a little bit more interactive and kind of bring things to today, right? So, so as you can clearly see, Silver King is the focus of the company right now. And I'll say a few words, and then I maybe turn it over to you again, Craig. So when we looked at Silver King, certainly I did, some of our shareholders, the way they looked at it is say, well, that's great. It produced 6 million ounces of silver. It's a super high grade mine, but is there anything left, right? I mean, people have that, have the right to ask that question. Did they mine it out, and is there anything left? As Craig has indicated, there are all reports that suggest that there's ore that was left behind. We think that we want to chase this thing down deeper around the mine, but we also were convinced that the area being a prolific area for mining, just think about Resolution Copper, which is the largest on-mine copper deposit on the planet, according to Rio Tinto, and that's Resolution Copper is Rio Tinto and BHP joint venture. We thought that we should go on the ground and start exploring, and we'd find some interesting things and try to unlock the potential of the entirety of the property, not just the location of the old mine. And that means silver upside and maybe copper. And as Craig noted, I like to say we're the hole in the donut being Resolution Copper. We're the only junior player that's right smack in the middle of all of that activity. So we decided to go ahead, and the company decided to do for the first time systematic exploration of the entire property. It's never been done. I think there are only 2 drill holes on the property. So I'd like, Craig, if you could maybe spend a few minutes explaining what we've done over the last, I think, 5 weeks. You're on site. You got your team on site. We had a press release last week. So what have you done? What have you found? And then after that, maybe we should talk a little bit about what's going to come up next, which is drilling. And we do know that people know that as we stated in the press release, we've applied for the permit with Forest Services. Let's do what have you done and what have you found, and let's just be mindful of time here. Martin, just want to make sure we stay on track. You're the chief here. How are we doing for time?
We're doing well. You're covering a lot of territory, so as long as we're talking about meaty matters, it's all good.
Okay. All right, Craig. So what have you done over the last 5 weeks, and what have you found?
Actually, it's about 4 weeks. We're going on 5, but that's okay. This figure here, this again, looking at the photo, you look at the glory hole on the right, and basically what we did is we looked at everything around the glory hole. Remember the plunging cylindrical body starts there and basically plunges to the left side of the photo. So looking at the where that thing cropped out at the surface, we've looked all around that. We started with the soil and mapping grid around that glory hole and that outcrop, looking for signs of mineralization, and also visiting all small mines and occurrences off to the right and upper part of this photo, which fortunately we don't have a figure showing all of that. Some of that was in our last press release. You could look that up, but the goal was to find or catalog all the mineralization that we can on the property, outside of the Silver King itself, and look for explain basically why this thing formed, and maybe we can use that to find more mineralization there. So, and we were successful in finding a couple of veins there, which had not really been described before. One of them I found in actually a very large dump, uh, indicating a large underground working that's collapsed right now at the surface. But there's a large dump there and a large polymetallic vein that comes out of that working. And it was mined at some time in the past, probably around the same time as the Silver King was mined originally. And it's got silver, lead, zinc, and copper in it. We have an XRF on site, so we can say what the metals are in there. We don't have an assay on it quite yet. It's in the lab, but we know this thing is mineralized and it has similarities to the Silver King itself. So we think we may have found another target for exploration outside of the Silver King. And that's kind of the goal, as Alain said, to find other things. The Silver King itself is not a large target. We can add on one thing that I didn't mention before is around that glory hole. And, this pipe that was mined at very high grade, we think there may be a lower grade halo around it. And, lower grade, again, is subjective. It was something that was not of interest to the miners in the historically, but it could be of interest to us now. So part of this drill program is to drill adjacent to the workings, the historic workings, and test for lower grade mineralization around the high grade center, which could make a large tonnage open pittable deposit eventually. So that's a second target. So we have the high grade mineralization, we have a lower grade halo as a target, and a couple of veins we found so far that are additional targets. And I think that's.
And Craig, while you're on the topic, I'm looking at some of the questions. So one is, could Prismo have some of the resolution mineralization on Silver King? I think that's an interesting tie into what you're saying, right? Because I think there are some similarities between what you're finding on our property versus, let's say, the Magma mine, which is kind of, the mine that got the whole resolution story started. So do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, the Magma mine it's located just a couple kilometers from here, from the Silver King mine. It was a high grade copper replacement deposit, had significant silver and other metals in it. And some of the mineralogy at Magma is very similar to the mineralogy at Silver King. Particularly has stromayerite, which is a copper silver sulfide, not real common in general, and it's found at Magma and also at Silver King. So, we think that Silver King is similar origin to Magma and basically related to a porphyry copper system. And as Alain said, Magma, it was a high grade, smaller tonnage, maybe 25 million tons at 5% copper, but that thing was worked over 90 years to a depth of 5,000 feet from the surface. And basically that came on to or led to the resolution discovery. And we think we're in the same system. We have the same rocks, not very far away from those two deposits. And we're finding copper mineralization adjacent to some of this area in this photo, and there's several occurrences, replacement deposits in limestone similar to magma. So that's a fourth target that we have there. We have four pretty good targets on this, and I think, and I like to say, this land position, people say it's small, but you look at it, most of the resolution deposit would actually fit inside this land package. So I think, do we have a potential porphyry system underneath it, or we could be in the halo of resolution? We'll find that out with exploration.
So maybe before I turn it over to you, Martin, for question, I'll maybe summarize some of the upcoming milestones. So as we stated in our last press release, we've got a number of samples in the lab. I understand through our communications today, Craig, you've got more samples that will be delivered at SGS tomorrow. How many more are you going to have? And how many now at SGS?
I think it's just 23 right now, and we'll have another, I think it's around 20. There's it's not a huge number of samples, but they're meaningful samples that we're taking.
Right. So we're going to have, we're going to receive the assay results. The way we like to do things is Craig and his team will sit down and analyze the totality of the first batch and lay it out on some maps and see what it's telling us, and then we'll release that. Same for the second batch that's going in tomorrow, and we have also stated that we've applied with Forest Service for the drill permit. It's you can see here from the picture that Martin's got on the screen. I mean, it's an old mine site. There was actually an old town there. It's been destroyed since, so everything's disturbed. So in terms of vegetation and so on and so forth, it's anything we're going to do is not going to impact vegetation or what's around there in terms of wildlife. So we're waiting for the service, the Forest Service to come back to us. I like to say hope that my expectation, my hope is that we're going to be able to receive the permit sometime in September, and at which time after that we immediately want to go in and start drilling. And talking to Craig this morning, I heard the good news that we might be able to drill the new vein, silver vein that we've identified from the drill locations that we're asking to be permitted. We felt that maybe it wouldn't be possible, but looks like it might be possible, which is great news. I'm going to hold you to that one, Craig.
Okay.
So, and then for other milestones, maybe a little further down the line would be find a way to finance the exploration at Hot Brecha and probably some corporate transaction around the Palos Verdes late this year, early next year.
Do you see yourselves needing to do any more sort of surface work, surface exploration before turning the drills once you get the drilling permit?
Not really, but we'll always be doing surface work as long as we have time to do it, and
Yeah.
we can always do a little bit more. And there's some targets again, like the copper targets that we haven't done much on so far. We've been focusing right around the Silver King and just cataloging. I visited all the small occurrences, so we can do more on those, and we will as time permits.
Yeah. And can you remind me how large is this the Silver King project that you've optioned?
The land package, I think, is around 150 hectares, something like that.
Okay. All right. Well, it's not a huge one. It's very
No,
manageable as well for you to get a real good grip on what's going on the property.
not huge, but large enough for a mine and an ore deposit for sure.
Yeah, yeah. What are your thoughts on going? You mentioned at depth below where the prior mine had worked to. Any thoughts on that? Is there any evidence as to did they stop mining because the grade ran low, or just they stopped mining because it was too deep? What are your thoughts on continuation at depth?
From the historical record, it's not clear. There's no reason for it not to continue to depth. but there's no information really that says why they stopped. I think it's probably a combination of factors. The grade probably does drop off somewhat, or it may change to copper or something like that. The mine has significant copper in it. It wasn't just silver. Silver is what they recovered, but there's significant copper, lead, and zinc in this also. And it may be a zoning to another metal. We don't know for sure. And that's something we're going to have to look at. Right now we're focusing on the easy 1,000-meter drill program, shallow program, but we'll be looking at the deeper portions also in the future.
Yeah. It looks like from the map on the side there that the deepest hole would be about, what, 600 feet or so. And then the upper right one, it looks like, what, 200, 250 feet. Do I have that about right?
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, they're fairly shallow holes for modern drilling, really.
Yeah, yeah. And were you saying that you're going to start off with RC drilling?
We considered RC. One thing, we don't know how much backfill we're going to hit, but I think we'll start with core. We
Okay.
think the ore is in place, and we'll get a better sample. And core drilling can go through voids up to a certain width.
Yeah.
So we're looking at that, but I think we'll start with core, and if we have to, we may drill some with RC as necessary. But core gives us a better sample, better data, and that's what we'll be doing at the start for sure.
When do you expect to get all the data? I guess you just provided some grab samples and that to the lab. The turnaround on the lab, it sounds like 4 or 5 weeks. So early October, we should be getting all of your from your current set of samples data back from that.
Yeah, including the second set, I'd imagine we'd get the first set before then.
Yeah.
What's good for us is the lab here in Tempe is not really busy, so they prepare them very quickly, and then they go up to Canada for analysis. So they kind of move up in the space if there's a lab in Canada that has a backlog in preparation. So I'm not sure how it's going up there right now, but I think it'll be 2 weeks to 3 weeks to get the final results.
Well, clearly it's an old historic mine, very high grade, and you're looking around to see what kind of mineralization they left behind and what's in the neighborhood as well. There's clearly with the Resolution mine, there's a lot going on in this area. So looks like there's a lot of opportunities to find things here.
Yes, we hope to get underground there shortly. As I said, the mine was rehabilitated. The water level right now is at 58 feet. So we need to pump about 60 feet of water to get down to the first level. And the family has two large submersible pumps in place in the mine. The wiring needs to be worked on a bit, and hopefully we'll be able to get that fixed up and dewatered before drilling and get underground and see some of this mineralization, which nobody's seen in except for the Dean family for a long time, probably 100 years.
Obviously, the Silver King is the primary focus. Are you going to be doing much or any work on the Ripsey mine this season?
We've done a little bit of work at it. If you want to switch to the next slide, there's probably a figure there. Yeah, this just shows the simple view. These are patented claims here, which is good. The permitting process is much faster for the future. On the
Yeah.
right, you can see the trace of the vein. It's a vein here, almost east-west, dips to the south, steeply to moderately. And in this case, we have several shafts and accessible workings. You can see in that section, kind of in the upper part of the middle of the slide, some of the shafts and workings. And we can get in some of those to shadow levels. So we've been down there taking a few samples while we're here. Just to get an idea, this is more gold actually than silver. So gold, copper mineralization with significant silver also, but mainly gold and copper. So we've taken a few samples on this period, but we haven't done a whole lot of work. Traced the vein a little bit farther to the east and things like that. But actually, we're out there, and that west shaft on the left side of the view there had a cougar in it. I walked up to look down in there, and the cougar was looking back at me, and he's only about 6 feet away, and he ran the other way, luckily, and so I wasn't too keen to go into that one when I went back, but we've looked at several of the workings there.
And you discuss here the antimony potential. Can you give an explanation as to the rationale for that, and your thoughts on its potential?
Well, the antimony was at the Silver King mainly, and the thing there, one of the main ore minerals in the past was Freibergite, which is a silver-rich tetrahedrite. And that's basically silver, copper, antimony sulfide. So it's a significant proportion of antimony in that mineral. And we think that's the mineral that probably gave the uh, the old timers some headaches in the metallurgical process in the upper
Yeah.
part of the deposit. So we think that could be a significant portion of the mineralogy, and we'll find that out when we found pieces of rock on the dump there with Freibergite in it, antimony. With our XRF, we can, it's silver, copper, antimony sulfide. You can see it right in the XRF analysis. So it's very silver rich in those. So we'll see what the assays come back on those.
Can you provide, you've optioned these, can you provide some terms to the option agreement? There's a question here, what are payment milestones? And just give us an overview on the terms of the option.
So
I'll let
on
Alain
the
do that.
Ripsey one, it's fairly straightforward. We issued 1 million shares. We have no minimum expenditures. It's a 5-year option, and we can exercise the option at any times in the next 5 years for $1 million with no other commitments associated with it. So it's
There's no
you might say-
NSRs or any lingering
no,
anything?
no, there are no royalties, NSRs on neither on Silver King or Ripsey, so they're royalty free. So,
Yeah.
and you might say, well, whoa, that's kind of a good deal for Prismo, which it is, but it came together with Silver King, and Silver King we have at the when we did the deal, we issued 1 million shares to the optioner, which is the Dean family, excuse me, and then our payment to the optioner are $10,000 a year. So not 10,000 a month or 10,000 a week. It's a bit unusual in that standpoint. So we're
This is the Silver King.
That's the Silver King. So we're pretty happy
Okay.
with Craig Gibson, great negotiator on top of being a great geologist. He's the
Yeah.
one who negotiated that. And to earn the first 50% interest, we need to have $3 million of expenditures in exploration before the third anniversary. So in order to get 50%, 3 million in the next 3 years. So it's very favorable.
Yeah.
And then after that we can buy or exercise another 30% by doing more exploration, another 3 million. And there are some payments in shares as well. So we believe that these deals are very attractive. They're sort of market terms for the payments to the optioner. They're a little bit favorable than what you normally see, and so we think we'll be able to unlock a lot of value for our shareholders with the structure that we were able to put in place on the 2 option agreements.
With the Silver King, are you able to get to 100% ownership on it, I think you
Yes.
talked about up
Yes.
to 80%.
Yeah, and then there's another 20. So once we get to 80, we would elect to do a joint venture with the normal, traditional commercial dilution aspects that you would see in something like this. And so we can get to 100%. Well, thanks for pointing it out.
All right. Okay. Some questions from the audience here regarding Arizona. What is the company doing to engage with the local indigenous communities? Have you partnered with Native American Disability Law Center? And what Indigenous partnership activities have you engaged in?
So before I ask Craig to expand on that, so there's hot breccia, let's say, which is its own thing, which is contiguous to the Apache reservation. So we haven't done anything there yet. We do have the access to these people, and we'll at the right time see what we want to do. We kind of backed off because especially if we're going to bring in a major, they'll probably be driving that. And then for Silver King, Craig, do you want to answer that for Silver King?
Yeah, we haven't done anything directly yet, but part of the process with the Forest Service permitting is they ask for input from several of the local indigenous groups in the region. So that's part of their permitting process. So that'll be incorporated there.
It's a little bit like Ontario.
All right. I've heard that with the current administration, the Forest Service is under much more encouragement or pressure to expedite permitting and being much more responsive. How have your interactions been with the Forest Service?
Incredible. So I mean, they've been extremely proactive, and a few weeks ago, Craig was when he was in the area, went to see them with the Dean family. And how did that go, Craig? And how would you describe the relationship?
Well, very cordial. It was, they basically told us we had originally applied a notice of intent, and we sent that in before the meeting just for their comments. They said, well, you'll have to do a little bit more than that. And they sent us a letter and we submitted that. So they've been really helpful, really proactive, as Alain said, and they want to get this through the process as fast as we do. So I think it's going to be a pretty good relationship.
Are the drilling permits still valid at Hot Breccia?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I want to talk about that. I think there was it was Craig was one of the in one of our interviews, podcasts, whatever. I think Steve made the statement that those are valid till August or July of next year, and I think someone, because I got the question myself privately, misunderstood next year for this year. But the answer is
Okay.
yes, they're still valid.
Yeah, they
All
go into
right.
next year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Have you started any sustainability reporting?
No, we just basically got on the ground there. So that's something we'll do as we get going on the project. Right now we're just basically walking on the surface and haven't done much of anything other than exploration work.
All right. Are you proposing to drill through the square set section, or is that whole offset from the mined area?
That's the idea, is to drill through the area we think might be backfilled, and that's where the RC drilling may come in. It's RC drilling uses air, and it's easier to drill through let's say loose rock and broken rock than it is with core. But we'll see how that goes. This was put together kind of in a just for this presentation, and we've since put the drill holes on a much more accurate model in 3D. So we'll try to avoid as much as possible any problems. But again, the lower part of this mine, I think, was extensively mined. So we're going to have problems below probably the 400 foot level.
All right. Do you have to raise additional funds for the drilling on Silver King?
We'd certainly like to raise additional funds for the drilling. So a couple thoughts on that. My view, when we start, we should keep going. We've got many drill locations that we're in the process of permitting, and I'm especially interested in finding what's underneath the mineralized vein, silver vein that has been found. But we just completed over $1 million of financing last month, so we're good. As we're waiting for the assays on the samples to come back, we're also planning to be on the road, Craig and I and Gord. And so we're going to be doing some road shows at the end of September. Part of the success in the last financing were unsolicited orders from substantial investors and brokers. And so, yeah, we would like to do something at the end of September and have a quite robust drill program funded.
All right. Well, I would think by then you'd also get a lot more of your groundwork that you've been doing, data from that, and then a lot more
Yes, sir.
data to bounce that off of.
Yes, sir.
Right.
All right. What is the drilling cost per meter, including assay costs?
That's a good question. You know, in Mexico, I could tell you right off the bat, and we've got some quotes. I don't want to put any numbers out there, but I've heard horror stories of, $500 a meter, but I think we'll be well under that. So I'm not too worried about the drilling cost. Assay costs are roughly, $50 to $70 a meter, depending on the assay method we use, or per sample. Sorry, that's usually use just a 1.2 samples per meter as an average, something like that, 1.5. But I think we'll this basically 1,000 meters. It'd probably be a $300,000 program, something like that.
Okay. Why is Forest Service approval needed to drill the patented ground?
It turns out the Silver King itself, the mine site, although the original owners thought it was patented, it was apparently never completed the process, or something happened, and the Forest Service said it's not patented ground, which is one of the reasons why the family had to close down their operation in 2000. The Forest Service said, it's not patented and you have to get the permit. And while they were doing that, unfortunately, they had some vandalism, and they haven't been able to get going again. But it's not. It may not be patented, and it may be patented. We're going to do the work to figure that out, because we have a patented, the patent format and filing we have in hand, and it's for some reason it's not listed as patented. So,
but I think the question relates to the patented claims. So what about those? Do you need permitting on the patented claims?
No, we don't need the permitting on those. It's a much simpler process.
So some claims are patented, some claims are not.
At Ripsey, they're all patented.
And some we're sort of discussing, but you don't need. Okay, we don't need the permit for the patented claims.
All right. Do you have any estimate on how much tonnage of low grade or the material left behind? How much tonnage is left?
There's just one report that they estimated that, based on grades and things like that pipe had 500,000 tons of volume that was mined, and they estimated only 150,000 tons of high-grade mineralization was removed and processed. So they think there's 350,000 tons in place as backfill in the mine, and those numbers are based on 1880s maps, and I think it was actually a thesis in 1930s that calculated all this. There's assumptions in there, but we're not sure. But we think it's actually significant. It's not a huge tonnage or anything like that, but it's a significant amount of mineralization, and that may be as broken rock already ready to move out of the mine.
I've read that report. Is fascinating, Martin, and we can make it available. I mean, it's a public document, so we can make it available to your audience.
Yeah.
All right. And for the tailings, do you have any sense if the copper, lead, zinc, or there's anything else of value potential in the tailings?
The interesting thing with Silver King, it's not it wasn't very common, but when they mined this, all the ore was trucked off. I say trucked, but in large wagons, it was hauled off to
Wow.
another site, which is not in our control. So there's no tailings really on the project. There's just waste dumps, which does have a little mineralization in it. I think the Dean family, processed a little bit of that through their mill. And there was a small amount of leach ore from this 1970s uh, work that was done, and the Dean family also ran that through their mill. Got some pretty high grades out of the bottom of the leach pad, but there's virtually no tailings there.
Is there any opportunity to get tax credits or any kind of public support, so to speak, for the project?
So in March, the administration had a very meaningful executive order that was all about streamlining access to permits and to accelerate time to production. And obviously we're following this very, very closely. And there was a section in that executive order that requested one of the departments to come up with recommendations exactly on that point and to support some of the smaller players. And we haven't seen that come out of the administration yet, but we're following it very closely.
All right. So there's some opportunity there. And Alain and Craig, any final comments here to leave viewers with?
Well, I would thank you for having us. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully we'll do this again anytime you feel that it's time to update your audience. We'll be happy to be available to you and your audience.
I'd also like to
Excellent.
thank you. And we spent all the time on Silver King, and we didn't really go over the other projects, but we've had a fair amount of information on the internet, on our website, also on the other projects. So feel free to go look at those, and we're pretty much available for questions at any time. So we're around and willing to answer questions.
All right. Well, we spent an hour here now on this. We'll get you back and we can focus in on other aspects of Prismo. You've got obviously a lot going on, a lot of assets here that seem to be in play, so to speak. So thank you very much. Have a great day and talk to you again soon.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you,
Cheers.
Martin.